Hi, you guys. Welcome to week 7. Yay, you have made it through your first class in your RN to BSN, completing this online. I'm so happy that you guys have made it this far and just wish you all the best as you continue on through the program. As we enter into week 7, we know that you have your final issues paper to complete for us this week. And we're also going to be looking at kind of our last topic, which is issues in healthcare, change, innovation, and the politically active nurse. This is the week where we really want you to be thinking about what does it mean to truly advocate for your patients. You've picked an issue that you've been working on for these past 6 weeks at this point since you've picked that issue. And I really need you to start thinking about how do you become involved? How do you take that next step? And for many of you, that might be as simple as just joining a professional organization. We really encourage you to do that, just to lend your voice to the people that have power to do lobbying for healthcare policies that are being developed, that we have a voice at the table. To those in Washington, to those locally, get involved, be a part of the change. As we look into the future of nursing, we know that the only constant is going to be the change that we're faced with. We can choose to embrace this change and put our creativity into nursing advocacy. Again, this unit is looking at our legal system, how we give voice to impact and control some of the issues that are facing our profession today and going into the future. Some questions I would like you to think about as you enter into this week is, what issues do we as nurses face, and will these change in the future? Again, I every week almost harken back to Bonnie Weserick. Again, 17 years ago, a group of people wrote that book thinking about changes that were going to happen in this new millennium. Some of those things have happened, some of them continue to remain the same. So do you have hope? Do you have optimism that things will change going into the future? How or in what forums is it appropriate for nurses to lobby and advocate for affordable health care? What are the barriers to nurses becoming active in healthcare policy and politics? Hopefully after completing this unit, some of the barriers that you're thinking of, boy, Jewel, I just don't even know how to go about this, can be pushed aside a little bit. For your first and only forum posted this week, which is due on Thursdays, as always, you are going to be looking at your own state legislature. So again, whatever state you are joining us from, I want you to be looking at either this current year, or if you have to, depending on where you're at in the season as far as legislation being in session, that sort of thing, you might have passed that window. So again, looking for something relatively current that was a bill that was put up for legislation in your own state. This bill should be related to healthcare, so I don't want something about travel violations or something like that. But you would be amazed. There can be ones related to schools, to public places that people are at. All sorts of bills that are out there can have health implications. Now, many of your state websites are going to have a category just related to health and healthcare type of bills, so I would direct you there. But again, look for something that's interesting. So what you are supposed to do is go to your own state's website, look for current healthcare bills. So it's just as simple as kind of putting that into a search engine and seeing what you can find. I want you to pick a bill. I want you to have that entire bill in front of you, and I want you to be able to send a copy to your instructor so that he or she here in the state of Indiana can see what's going on wherever it is that you live. So send us that bill so that we know what's going on. I'm always fascinated by things that are happening across the country here, of who's kind of setting trends, who's talking about what issues. It's really great just to be informed like that. So again, send a copy of that bill along with your forum post. And your forum post for this week should be examining that bill related to healthcare, I want you to create a position statement. So after you've kind of read through it and kind of mulled it over, I want you to say, you know, after I've kind of thought about this, yes, I'm absolutely in favor of this healthcare bill going through. I think that it would have great ramifications for the people in the state of wherever you are. Or no, I'm really opposed to this. I think it would create a financial burden that our state just can't handle. It wouldn't benefit people as it's written. It would be too cumbersome to patrol, whatever the issues are. So either come out for or against this bill. If you were going to the voting box and voting for this bill, would you vote for it or against it? Why or why not? And then I really want you to also look at what would be the ethical implications if your bill passed. So if your bill passed, would it really help people? If your bill does not pass, I also want you to describe the ethical implications. If this bill doesn't pass, then drug users are going to continue to use drugs. They just won't have safe needles to do so. Again, whatever the bill is, I want you to look at it for both sides. So you've created your own position statement. You're either for or against it. But then the next step is to ethically think through, if this bill does pass, how would it impact people? If this bill doesn't pass, how is it going to impact people? Again, I don't want this to be any terribly lengthy sort of post. About 300 words or so is fine. And then by Sunday of this week, as this final class wraps up, what I would like you to do is to look at two of your peers and just put a question out to them about the bill that they researched, so that you've read and kind of understand what other people are posting on. Like I said, it's been fascinating to see what other states are looking at in legislation, and you're like, oh, you know, I wonder if my state has that, or if they don't, boy, we should certainly think about looking at that in our own state. So that covers what you are trying to get done for your forum postings for this week. And then, like I said, we have that big issues paper that is due the very last night of class. That's due Sunday evening for us. There is a rubric that's posted not only in your syllabus, but in Moodle. Once again, I encourage you, rubrics are there to help be a guiding framework for you, that you follow the rubric, you put all the pieces into your paper that the rubric is asking for, and you're going to be in great shape. As I said last week, I really encourage you to find a spouse, loved one, coworker, somebody that has time to read through your paper, to sit there with your rubric and see if they can kind of figure out, did you answer all the things that are being asked in a rubric? If they can, then you're probably in really good shape. For week 7, let me scroll down over here. I don't have a whole lot posted as far as additional resources for you. There is the really cute Schoolhouse Rock, How a Bill Becomes a Law, just as a Government 101 refresher class for you of how do we really make things become state laws in our governing system. There is a political self-assessment tool, very interesting to take, just to kind of see, you know, where are places that you could work to become a little bit more politically astute or savvy. And then there's an article that I would encourage you to read called Reframing the Debate on Healthcare Reform. I find that to be a pretty interesting article, and especially given our current situation right now. The last thing that we need to do for this one last video to wrap up Nursing 331 is we need to look at our Policy and Power PowerPoint. Let me share that with you. The importance of political action in the nursing profession. There are, as we are well aware, numerous problems that are facing our healthcare system. We have a very fragmented system. We have a population that is aging, and we have a nursing practice that's directly affected by the policies that are made. And oftentimes those policies are made by people that don't know or understand nursing. Decisions impacting healthcare, patient care, and profession, yeah, as I said, just without our own input into it. Often individuals or groups are approach policymakers with a problem that they want to have be solved. Policymakers learn about the problem, so there's one place where we can directly start intervening in providing some education about whatever the healthcare policy is that's been brought to the table. At the national level, only a Congress member can sponsor legislation. So again, if you have a great idea, you would have to meet with your Congress member to have them support it and get this passed into legislation. You have to be able to sway public perception of the problem. You have to define what the problem is. You have to, as we were doing in our forum post, is talk about the ethical or the societal consequences. And then you really need to think about who would be the opposing parties out there that would be working against you. I'd love for you to think about ways in which you have been politically active. We encourage you to complete the politically active survey and kind of see where there are places for you to grow in your own kind of advocacy. I have that Schoolhouse Rock video for you to watch that's going to help you, again, reacquaint yourself with the political process, the three branches of our government, the executive, legislative, and judicial. Within politics, we use power for change. We are influencing the allocation of scarce resources of money, time, supplies, personnel, or access to information. Politics is also the process by which one influences the decisions of others. Again, you're trying to create an argument to show why your side would be more helpful or more beneficial than the others. Nurses' political action can happen within the workplace to some extent, again, depending on what your rules are there. Within the government, either at the local, state, or federal level. As I said, by encouraging you to join professional organizations, to lend your voice and money in support of people that have lobbying groups to really advocate, not in a necessarily Republican or Democratic sort of way, but in a way that promotes healthcare and what is best for people. And then through different community organizations, volunteering your time, being active in your community, being a helping part of building up your community. Within your workplace, there are policies and procedure manuals to help kind of guide the politics that you need to follow as far as, what you can post, that sort of thing. There's also policies in place governing mandatory overtime, nurse staffing, clinical ladders, smoking and other healthcare issues, admission and discharge policies. So all of these things, again, could be part of legislation. We see California kind of leading the charge through unionization in a way of kind of having nurse staffing ratios and things like that. That all took place due to kind of advocacy, lobbying, legislation, that sort of thing, to get those to pass through. Things that you can do at the government level is obviously register to vote, have your voice count. You could write letters to your legislator. You could work for a political candidate's campaign. You could visit with policymakers. Something as simple as sending a letter to your local representative, letting he or she know you're a nurse. If you have a healthcare bill that you would like some help researching or getting a informed professional opinion, I'm one of your constituents, reach out to me. I'm happy to help guide you on that. You could attend Meet the Candidate town hall meetings so that you really get to know people. And of course, you can communicate by email, fax, and phone. You could speak to issues at a legislative hearing. Again, within professional organizations such as the ANA, they raise funds and give money to PACs or people that can help kind of lobby for what it is that you're hoping to see changed. You could talk with the lobbyists that are involved with your professional organizations. You could sign up to be on the legislative committee. NSTAT is something that you could sign up for, which would send out notices to nurses, kind of letting you know of legislation that's out there. They oftentimes kind of give you a form letter that you can kind of sign off on and support. Or you can write your own letters in support of issues related to healthcare, nursing, nursing education. Again, here's NSTAT. It's the Nurses Strategic Action Team. The ANA has this program. It helps to unify nurses' political voices across the country. So again, they send notices out to you and they make the political process kind of less intimidating. Again, as I said, oftentimes they're form letters that would just kind of let you know what is going on, what role the ANA is playing in this, and then they ask for you to sign this letter and send it to your local legislator. Again, you are to look and find either a bill that's in the House or the Senate, formulate your opinion, and then you are to, in your forum post, articulate your viewpoint and the ethical implications, both for if this bill would pass or against if the bill would not pass.